Hello and welcome to We Will Talk About It, the Supernatural Rewatch podcast where we watch one episode every week, spoiler free. I'm Megan.
And I'm Kat.
And this week we are talking about Season 1, Episode 2, Wendigo. This is our third attempt recording this intro. I think we've finally nailed it.
Yeah, it turns out on always helps.
Yes, having your microphones on always helps. Having them set to the right settings always helps.
Yep.
But we're here. We're doing it now. We're pretty glad to be here. We're pretty glad to be recording together. We live in Brisbane in Australia and we've just come out of a 3-day lockdown for COVID. Obviously, we're still very lucky that we only get 3-day lockdowns and now we're able to sit together in the same room and record. But yeah, it's been a bit of a bumpy week.
Yeah, especially when we just started as well. We're thinking, oh no, is this 3-day going to turn into 27 days? Is it going to be like the movie 27 Days? Who knows? I was hoping not.
Yeah, we were all hoping that it wasn't going to end up like Melbourne being in lockdown for, I don't even know how long they were in lockdown for, hundreds of days. So we were pretty happy, pretty stoked to be here, to be recording, and to be talking about the second episode of Supernatural. Well, shall we crack into the episode?
I think we should.
I mean, my first note from the episode is puka shell necklace.
Ah, yes.
So,
oh boy.
I don't think I knew a male in my life who didn't own at least one puka shell necklace.
In the 2000s, definitely. Or the other one, what was it? It looked like it was, I think you got it from City Beach or some surf shop. And it was obviously the shell necklace, but also the other one that looked like little square tiles.
Yeah, and there was also like little tiny ball bearings was the other one as well.
Like they were the three quintessential, this is what we think men should be wearing, or young fellows.
Yes, so that was my first note because there was a strong puka shell necklace. My second note is Corey Monteith, R.I.P.
And also, what were they playing? You know the game? I know we're going to get into the episode.
I mean, this is us getting into the episode.
No,
let's be realistic here.
Yeah,
I don't know. I assume it was Game Boys, and I feel like at the time you could connect your Game Boy because you could do that thing. Do you remember this where you could if you were adjacent to somebody else's Game Boy, you could play each other on things and
really?
It was you could connect and it wasn't Wi-Fi or anything because it's 2005.
Yeah.
But you could somehow connect because I remember that being like a massive thing at lunchtime in the school playgrounds was you could connect.
I didn't have that, but I'm also thinking of Digimons. Because Digimons you had you could prong them together. But obviously not Digimons.
Yes, this wasn't Digimons. I can't even say tiny baby Corey Monteith because he wasn't a tiny baby. He actually looks older here than he looked in Glee, which came out 5 years, something like that after this.
In 2000, I want to say 2007, 2008. Someone surely will correct us.
So a few years later, but he actually looks older here.
Yeah, on brand.
He looks better here.
Yeah, he really does because he's not trying to play a 17, 16-year-old who was maybe in his late 20s.
Yeah, I don't actually know how old he is.
So yes, I definitely noticed that. And I was like, oh, it's Corey from Glee. Couldn't think of his last name. Just wrote Corey.
Yeah, Corey Monteith. Rest in peace.
Yes, definitely. Yes. Yeah.
But they're camping in the forest. One of them, the brother of the main girl that we're going to meet later, he records a video on his phone, which we don't see in this scene, but we see later. He didn't text it to her. He emailed it to her because that's the only way you could have communicated a video via a phone in 2005.
But also, the OG of, vlogging.
Yeah, it was
because essentially he was vlogging.
He was telling about his day long
day
before.
6 or whatever.
Yeah, day 6 of their trips. And, I mean, truly, guys, just stay out of the forest. The My Favorite Murder Girls, they tell you this, stay out of the forest.
But I might point out, and I will mention it probably later in the episode, gorgeous surroundings. To me, when someone says forest, we're in Australia. Our forests don't look like that.
No.
We call them scrub.
Or bush.
And if you think, oh, this is beautiful, maybe we don't have this unless you go to Tasmania where it's colder and we have the luscious trees and forests. That forest is pretty, unless you go north, maybe tropical. But
yeah, I mean, in South Australia, which is where I grew up, you definitely have more of the foresty forests. We have Kaipo Forest and we have the Mount Lofty Ranges, and it is a lot more foresty out there. But yeah, not on this scale. Obviously, the pilot, which we watched and talked about last week, was filmed in California. It was filmed in LA. but they then moved production to Vancouver.
Yep.
And that's where they subsequently filmed for the next 15 years. So all of this is Canada.
And beautiful.
And beautiful. They hear something in their camp, and one of them just goes out to go pee, and he gets taken by something. And they're all freaking out. They can hear it. And then the camp gets attacked by something that we don't see. And all of them get taken or killed by this mysterious creature. Fast-moving creature. So then we cut. Hard cut to Sam. He's at Jessica's gravestone. She's only 4 years older than me. She was born in 1984.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that weird? Like that she's not that like...
She's like 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, wow.
It's kind of weird that they're not... Like if when I was 17 and watching this, it felt like 22, you may as well have been 37, you know? Like
being married, kids, mortgage.
Yeah, like so much older. But now it's like, oh, you really weren't that much older than me. Like,
R.I.P. Jess.
So Sam's at Jess's grave and he's just really sad a bit that he couldn't save her. He's sad that this horrible thing has been repeated again.
He wishes he told her about his past.
And then her hand reaches out of the grave and grabs her. And at that second, we realized it's a dream. It's a nightmare. He's actually in the car with Dean. Yeah. And I think that's it's so good because you don't get any clue until he wakes up. Like the hand comes up and straight away he wakes up. But there is a moment where you don't know, you're in the world of the supernatural. She could have come back. And then you realize that he's in a nightmare and he wakes up and Dean is there.
The big...
And Dean sort of tries to talk to him about it.
I mean, in Dean's way. Which is no feelings.
Well, I think...
no girly, in the terms of early 2000s, girly feeling. He cares for his brother, and it's obviously a running undertone through the whole show. No spoilers, because, I mean, they're bros, right? And I feel like in this scene, he was trying to give him his space, knowing that he knows, but he's also not going to push him to tell him.
Yeah, exactly. So they're driving to Blackwater Ridge, which was left by their dad in the previous episode as a clue. Yep. I think that's maybe where their dad is.
Yeah. Also, as a side note, I do love the fact that Dean's way of fixing, like making Sam feel better is like asking him if he wants to drive. And I was like, that's a Dean hug. If Dean doesn't hug, that's his way of hugging, right? Like it's very much you want to drive? Come on, bro. Come on, you want to.
Yeah. Sam isn't sure they should have left Stanford. He feels like they should have stuck around. Dean's like, no, we stayed around for a week, and we sort of get timings of like, where are we in time? Yeah. So that's kind of setting up how much time has passed. So they stayed in Stanford for a week, and now they're like, no, we have to get out. We have to go.
Yeah, whatever
and
is
find this location that Dad has given us. And Sam thinks it's kind of strange because Blackwater Ridge is in the middle of literal nowhere.
No
and
towns.
He doesn't really understand why he would have done that at all.
Yeah.
They go to the Rangers hut, Rangers entrance at Blackwater Ridge at this sort of location in this national park, I guess. And they're kind of looking around, and then the ranger shows up and they pretend to be environmental majors who are just researching Blackwater Ridge.
Yep.
And the ranger is like, no, you are friends with that girl, Haley.
Yes.
And I really like this immediate transition from one lie to another lie. Like, seamless lie transition where it's like, first they're lying about environmental majors and he sees through that. And then they're like, yeah, of course, we're friends with that girl, Haley. What happened with that girl, Haley? Tell us what you know.
Where does Haley live? Do you know whereabouts she is? Do you know where we can find her? Yes, it was good. Like I think out of both of them, I think Dean is definitely, he's got that moxie. He's wily. He's
got moxie.
He knows how to like, oh, okay. He's always thinking 2 steps ahead.
Exactly.
Because that's what it was definitely about.
Exactly. He's fast. He's trying to figure out how he can work out what's going on. So Haley is the sister of Tommy, who was the guy with the puka shell necklace, who who disappeared in the cold open. Disappeared vlogging in the cold open.
Yep.
And so he gets the details of what Tommy said, which presumably included his address.
Yes.
So he would have registered to say we're going hiking. This is the amount of time we're going away. This is my contact information.
He did mention in the past that he told Hayley, the ranger told Hayley, like, he's only been gone, he's still within his time, nothing's happened. We'll worry about it if he goes past his date, his return date. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, that's really organised. I don't think in Australia we would have.
No.
We don't really have rangers because our area is we've got way too much space.
And it's not all national parks. It's
oh boy,
there's bits that are national parks, but a lot of Australia is just empty. We definitely don't have rangers in the same way that they do or organisations.
You work it out. You do it live kind of thing. You definitely do it live. We're not registering saying, I'm going camping for 4 days and I'll return on this date. There's none of that.
No, definitely not. Maybe we should though, but
maybe we should.
We definitely don't.
No.
So they get the details and Dean's like, yep, let's go talk to this girl, Hayley. And Sam's just not interested in fuckboy Dean. He's not interested in his activities. He's like, are you just trying to get a hookup? Yep. We should be trying to look for Dad. We should be going out to Blackwater Ridge, not taking a left turn to go chat up some chick. Sam's not having it.
No, he is not having it.
And it's very funny to me how little time he has for Dean's shenanigans.
Oh, yeah, especially when he's the younger one. You would think the younger one would be more wild and free. No.
They go to see Hayley and to talk to her about her missing brother, Tommy, and Dean is like, oh, yeah. And Sam's face is just like, I hate you. And my note is, oh, my God, Dean, now is not the time, which I think is Sam's feeling as well. They do go into the house. Hayley explains that Tommy has gone missing and that she's worried about him. Their parents are gone. It's just him and his brother, who I will talk about later.
Yes.
I have a lot of feelings about this. None of them about this. No, the younger brother.
Oh, yes.
Ben. None of them are about this. A lot of them are about Star Wars.
Okay.
So.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, get ready.
Oh, strap myself in. I'm strapping myself in.
So they show, so Hayley shows Sam and Dean the video that he emailed from his phone. Again, very funny technology in 2005.
It just, sidebar real quick, it just reminds me of the Nelly / Kelly Rowland video where she's texting him via Excel.
I'll try and find something. I'll try and find like a clip of it to put in the
I'm sure it's on
Instagram.
The Insta. The kids these days with their memes.
Yeah, no, I'll find a picture and put it on Instagram because yes, absolutely. Because we didn't notice back in the day because we didn't have phones, let alone a sidekick.
And for me, I had a phone, but it was like a Nokia 3310.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I put that phone, my Nokia 3310 through the washing machine at least 10 times. Nothing ever happened. It probably is still in my parents' house somewhere, working fine. It just needs to be charged. So Sam asks for a copy of the video that they sent because Sam's noticed something in the video, but he doesn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
And Hayley reveals that her and her brother are going out they've hired a guide.
Yeah, guide.
And so that they're going to go out and to look for him because they're sick of waiting. And, Hayley's she's a go-getter. She's a go-getter. She wants to do stuff herself. She's sick of waiting. She knows something's wrong. And so she is going out with her brother to find him.
Vibes, and I'm only because you just said that and my brain's like, oh, moment. She's very much like the good parts of Sam. Like there are good parts to both Sam and Dean, but she's picked those traits. Like she's a go-getter, which is Dean, but she has feelings like Sam, and she's like the perfect like combo of their traits in her because she's like, nope, there's something wrong. Nope, I need to go find them. Don't tell me otherwise, which is very much them bled into like.
Yeah. She's not just a damsel in distress. She's not just waiting around. So we cut to they're in a bar and Sam has very good video technology on his laptop for a law student in 2005.
And that laptop is very thick.
It's so bulky. Thick. So he has some very good video technology and he watches the video and he slows it down. And you can see something really fast moving in the background of the video that Tommy sent. And so they're like, okay, we have to do a bit more research. They do a little bit more research. They find out there's been quite a few people go missing over the years in this area.
Maybe due to grizzly bears.
Yes, allegedly due to grizzly bears. And in particular, they realised there was one survivor from an attack back in the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
So, and he was a kid and he crawled out of the forest. So they go and visit this survivor. And I feel like this is such a stereotype of like the survivor who never got their life together, and he kind of lives in the dark and smokes all day and
in a really rundown cabin.
Yeah, like it's very stereotype.
It's very 2000.
Very 2000 stereotype. And they speak to the survivor, and he tells them that at first he's like, yeah, it was totally a grizzly. And Dean's like, are you sure? Like, are you sure it was a grizzly?
Eyebrow Ray.
And so they convince him to tell them what really happened. Like
Speak the truth.
And that he said, well, no, it wasn't a grizzly because it opened the door. We were in a cabin and it opened the door and attacked us, and it was fast and it just killed us. And he pulls back his shirt and he has three big scars, like claws all down his shirt. So they don't know what they're dealing with specifically. They think it could be a skinwalker or a black dog. But they know, well, Dean is like, no, we're going out there. We have to go and find this. Sam's real pissy in this whole episode.
He is dealing with his grief. He is in the stage of anger, but he's not being outright what we as a society would deem back then as manly anger. He's very sullen.
Yeah, he's really pissy because he just wants to find Dad, because he wants to find the thing that killed Jessica and exact his revenge.
Yeah,
and he's very single focused on that. And Dean is more big picture and like, we need to go out and help, as well as we're going there anyway to find Dad. That's where Dad said we should go.
Exactly.
So we cut to the next day and they're meeting up with Hayley and Ben and Roy, who is the guide.
I believe he's meant to be some kind of hunter, knows the area quite well, believes it's probably just grizzly bears, and that this Hayley is not really... There's nothing to worry about, and he's got this. He's got this.
Yeah. I will say this season 1 filter is so jarring during daylight hours. Like at night where it's all the blues and it's really kind of grainy, it doesn't look that bad. But in daylight hours, it is so jarring. Sam and Dean look like they have black hair.
They don't.
They do not have black hair. It's so aggressive. And I know it's a very specific look that they were going for, but it's just so over the top.
It's like when Instagram first came out and it had like, I think 12 filters. There was one that would make it look very grainy and very blurry and very dark. It's very much giving me that life.
They go all together on the hike. Hayley's not particularly glad to see them. She thinks they're a bit of a waste of time and space, and that they're
resources.
And resources, because they're not dressed in hiking gear.
I know, who hikes in a leather jacket, man? Like...
Yeah, it looks very uncomfortable. Hayley talks to Dean and she's basically like, you aren't rangers. There's no way that a ranger would be this ill-prepared.
And a leather jacket.
And would wear a leather jacket to go on a hike into sort of very remote terrain. And Dean reveals, yeah, that's true. We're not rangers. We're looking for our dad, and we think that he might be out here too. And he then tells her, look, you think I'm unprepared, but I am prepared. And he brings
provisions.
He brought provisions, which was a big bag of peanut M&Ms.
I lost my brain because I don't like much chocolate, and like I love a good peanut M&M. There is something about a peanut M&M. I'm like salty and like sweet, and it's got the crunch. And then just in this massive bag of, we don't get bags of M&Ms like that. That is a very massive bag for someone.
No, it's enormous. It's
like a small pillow.
It's huge.
Size-wise, like, again, because we're in Australia, we don't have massive serving sizes of things. like a party bag for us of like chips would be as small in America, I think, in comparison, because our stuff like that's mega isn't really mega.
And it's just, where was he hiding it?
In his little man pocket. I loved it.
So Dean's being a bit sassy with Roy, the guide, because he knows what they're actually looking for. He knows what they're really hunting, and he's just getting up in Roy's grill because he doesn't think Roy should be there.
Nope.
And Roy grabs him, and then we realize that he hasn't grabbed him to like yell at him. He grabs him to stop him from stepping on a bear trap.
Yes.
So Roy is not actually an actual idiot.
No.
He just isn't prepared for what is actually out there.
No.
He thinks it's a grizzly, or he thinks Hayley is worried about nothing and they're going to find the camp and there's nothing there. But I mean, he's wrong, because then they find the camp and it's been destroyed.
Classic shredder. It gave me vibes when they were like pulling like up the ribboned tent. It gave me very much like Freddy Krueger style.
Yeah.
Like, slash.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sam and Dean sort of stand to one side and Sam says, "Can you hear that?" And Dean says, "Yeah, there's not even crickets." Like both of them are so switched on. And this is kind of the first indication that you get that they're really good at what they do.
Yes.
They're really good hunters because Roy hasn't noticed that there's no noise.
Yeah.
But they immediately have picked it up.
And I mean, boy, with that silence, that was eerie as anything.
But don't worry because it's going to be broken because there's a voice screaming for help.
Yes.
And they run after it and they get to where they think it was and there's nothing there. And so they all run back to the camp. Sam's like, "We need to get back to the camp immediately."
Yes.
And they get back to the camp and all of their provisions are gone. And Sam works out what it is that they're looking for, which is a Wendigo.
Yes.
And a Wendigo is a real creature in Native American folklore. The Wendigo is part of the traditional belief system of a number of the Algonquin-speaking peoples, including the Ojibwe, the Saulteaux, the Cree, the Naskapi, and the Innu, and they're all in kind of Northern America and Canada.
Got you.
So they realize it's a Wendigo, which is kind of the ultimate hunter, the ultimate killer. And Sam is really sassy because he's like, "These people shouldn't be out here. We have to get them out. This is crazy that they're here." And they tell everyone that they need to stay in the camp and that they're going to settle down for the night and that they need to protect themselves, which they do with Anasazi symbols.
Yes.
What I want to say is the Anasazi are they're not Algonquin-speaking Native Americans. They're not from the area. They're from Mexico-ish area, kind of New Mexico area. Any Americans listening, if I'm getting geography wrong, I apologize. But it's very southern part of America, which is unfortunate and does show a lack of research.
Yeah.
And which is unfortunately not uncommon. But the only thing that I can think of, because I didn't say this at the start, and I should have said this at the start, this episode was, the story was by Ron Milbauer and Terry Hughes Burton. Eric Kripke wrote the teleplay. So he wrote the script and someone else came up with the story.
Yep.
And this was also directed by David Nutter, who directed the pilot. So Eric Kripke wrote this, and The X-Files was a massive influence on the early seasons of Supernatural.
I can see that.
And a lot of the storylines are very not similar, but like there's a lot of monsters of the week that are very similar. And the only thing that I can think of as to why they would include the Anasazi is that the Anasazi play a role in X-Files. They're part of, I want to say, the end of season 2, start of season 3 arc features the Anasazi. And so I don't know if I just think it's an Easter egg.
Oh, okay.
I think I think it might be an Easter egg for X-Files nerds like me.
Yeah, got you.
But I don't know. Eric Kripke, tell us.
Hey, my bestie.
Yeah, we're besties.
Yes,
if
we're
you
besties.
could reach out and tell us if that's why you've mentioned Anasazi. Because they don't have a Wendigo as part of their traditional belief system. It's not part of their folklore. So it is either just total lack of research or it's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
I would like to think that it's an Easter egg.
Yeah, the nicer way would be an Easter egg.
They're protecting themselves with Anasazi symbols, and Roy is very skeptical of all of this. He thinks it's a bunch of bullshit.
Yes.
Sam is having a sulk off in the corner.
Oh, sulky Sam.
Because he is like, Dad's not here. I don't think Dad ever came here. I think he sent us here to find the Wendigo and kill it. I think that's why we're here. And he's not particularly happy about that. He's very sullen. But the reward is we get
The family business.
We get maybe the most iconic line, the line that kind of sets up the whole mythology of the show. So the line is Dean tells Sam that he thinks their dad wants them to pick up where he left off, saving people, hunting things, the family business. The family business. And Sam is just like, no, I just need to find Jess. That's all I care about. And Dean doesn't disagree with that, but he thinks that helping people who can't help themselves helps while they're waiting. It helps to fill that time while they're trying to find the thing that killed Jess and their mum.
Because you have to kind of think, like, if Sam stayed on this trajectory of anger, vengeance, revenge, all these kind of, it's going to bottle up into negativity, right? He's just going to build up until the point where he does encounter what killed Jess and be ill-prepared because he's just going to explode. Whereas what Dean is trying to say is like, I get it. I'm here for you, but let's help people that can't help themselves. Like, let's do some good along the way. Let's equal out the karma.
Exactly. He wants to see if we can balance it out. The Wendigo tries to draw them out.
Yes.
He's shouting again. And Roy shoots and he thinks he hits it and he runs off into the forest because he thinks he's wounded it and he can finish taking it out. But Sam and Dean both know that that's not how you kill a Wendigo, which they talk about in a minute, and which is that you do have to kill it with fire. That's the only way to kill a Wendigo.
I mean, that is something in our household. If we encounter a spider or something that's not of, I mean, just being Australian, things just come into your house. It's very much set on fire, especially if it's a big old fuck off spider, because we do get those. It's very much like just burn the house down, start again, change your name. You know? Yeah. You can always rebuild.
Yeah.
Very much.
So after Roy runs off, they explain to Hayley and I keep calling the brother Ben, and now I'm a bit worried that's not his name.
I'm pretty sure. Should we Google?
No, it's okay. I'm going to look it up. It's in my notes somewhere. Hang on. It is Ben. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I was like, I'm pretty sure it is Ben.
So they explain in a little bit more detail what a Wendigo is.
Yes.
They use the word Indian more than once, which is too many times. I'm not giving them it was 2005 pass.
No.
Even in 2005, I think you knew not to say Indian. I will say that the retelling of what the Wendigo is pretty close to what the sort of folklore is.
That's good.
In general, there's obviously lots of variations because it's sort of spread across a lot of different people and a lot of different cultures. But in general, it's created when a creature resorts to cannibalism to survive, originally referred to as a spirit, but transformed over time to be a real monster. So what they say is very similar to what the sort of true story is, that it's someone who resorts to cannibalism and that turns them into a monster with an insatiable appetite. Just like with La Llorona, and that's why We Drink M did a great episode where they covered it in great detail. So I encourage you to go listen to that. I'll link it in the show notes. Law did an episode on the Wendigo, and so did Supposedly Podcast also did an episode. So I'll link all of those in the show notes if you'd like to learn a lot more about the history of the Wendigo. Hayley and Ben kind of don't believe it. They're kind of, this is sort of the first time we get a person saying that the brothers introducing the idea that the paranormal, the supernatural is real. And my next note is about Ben, and it says, "Erg this potato." Let me talk about
the potato.
Ben. Let me talk about the potato, because this potato, and I'm sure he's played by Alden Ehrenreich. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. But many years later, he gets cast to play Han Solo in the Solo film. This potato is not Han Solo. And every time I rewatch this episode, I'm so angry that this potato gets cast to play Han Solo, particularly when Jensen Ackles is standing right there.
Wait. As in the guy that's got the really floofy, beautiful blonde hair.
Hang on.
I'm confused.
You're okay.
I'm very confused. As in this actor, the potato,
is
playing the Solo movie.
In the Solo movie,
like the narrative of he and Solo. For those who don't know, I do not know Star Wars.
She doesn't know Star Wars very well, so I'm just going to let her go for a while and then I'll drag her back into...
Meghann will rescue... Let me go to sea for a little bit.
Yep, go on.
So the movie that's called Solo...
Yes.
Which I always think of like the drink. I don't know why my brain just goes there. Potato is not potato, but he's Solo.
He plays Han Solo. He gets cast. That potato gets passed. It makes me so angry. Like I said, I'm sure he's a very nice person and a very nice actor, but he is not Han Solo. So, unlike Kat, who I'm going to reel in now before she keeps going,
obviously he's wearing a wig. That's what I'm going to say. Obviously he's wearing a wig because in the promos, he's wearing some nice hair.
I don't think it's a wig. I think it's just the passage of time because he
looks like he's wearing a buzz cut.
2005.
Where he's wearing like a buzz. I mean, men tell me about buzz cuts. It looks like a buzz cut 3.
Sure.
It's a dome. It's a very domey haircut.
Yep. The Solo movie came out 13 years later.
I understand that hair changes.
Men can grow hair. It's not like you pick a haircut and you get stuck with it for the rest of your life.
I mean, I feel like he was on a trajectory of that life, but anyway.
That you're just like, no, he can't grow his hair.
In my head, I'm just now thinking of the Play-Doh dolls where you suck Play-Doh off their butts and then you squeeze them and then pa-pa, hair.
Anyway, unlike Kat, I grew up watching Star Wars and loving Star Wars. It probably was my favorite film growing up. Was the original trilogy, the original for 3 films, the trilogy of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I love those films. I've probably seen them more than almost any other film.
I've seen them once.
Kat's not allowed to talk anymore.
No.
Anyway,
Baby Yoda for life.
She's not allowed to talk anymore.
Yeah.
Not that I have anything wrong with The Mandalorian. I'm just, she can't keep talking when I'm talking about Harrison Ford.
No, it's very true.
So obviously, well, not obviously, but I feel like a lot of people growing up, their first crush is Luke Skywalker, which is played by Mark Hamill, because he's very cute.
Oh, very cute.
And then as I grew older, and I'm sure this is the experience for a lot of people, it transitioned to Harrison Ford, Han Solo, So I love Harrison Ford. Han Solo is such a pivotal character in my development, and even, I guess, just to bring it up, pretty pivotal in Eric Kripke's development as well, to the point that he pitched this as Star Wars in America's backroads. Dean is Han Solo. Sam is Luke Skywalker.
There was a moment where I kind of forgot he was there, and I was like, oh, that's right, that guy.
Right, it's the brother.
Yeah. And at the same time, though, like watching this episode, I kind of I knew about the Wendigo, but you know how some
Wendigo.
Oh, I'm going to get it wrong.
Oh my God.
This is why Meghann asked me to do this podcast, because I'm just make these silly mistakes.
Because she's going to say Wendigo.
And I'm not drunk.
No.
I'm not drunk. This is just me.
I've only had one beer.
So I got vibes of Ben just being heavily introverted, and I don't know if I just don't know if they needed him to be on the show. And I mean that in the most they didn't really do much with him. You know what I mean? They really, he was just there. And again, sometimes I forgot he was there, and then they deadpan to him, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that guy."
Yeah, exactly.
And again, maybe make the siblings twins, because she's got this inkling, she has this feeling, and obviously it's the trauma of they've lost their parents and stuff like that. I get that, but I feel it could have been more like they're twins, make it more about siblings.
No, that makes I think that makes way more sense. So I will say Eric Kripke for a very long time was like, this is one of my worst episodes. He didn't really like, because he's like, the CGI is a pile of garbage.
Appalling. It's appalling.
The story is very straightforward. There's no real surprises. It's very A to B to C to D. There's no real twists or turns.
No, there's no plot twists.
So yeah, he for a very long time was like, this was not my greatest story. This didn't really hold up to scrutiny.
No, and look, I just think there's a couple of tweaks of maybe if they were siblings, they were twins, because then it would have full circle moment. Even though we know Sam and Dean aren't twins, they're very close.
Yes,
like twins, and I think it would have just been there's a lot of bridging that could have happened. That would have happened, just little tweaks.
Now that Roy is gone in the morning, Sam is like, no, we're going to kill this thing.
Yep,
let's do it. They go together to try and find it. they're following the trail. And
they're dragging the drag trail.
Yeah, they're following the trail of what happened to Roy. And then Sam suddenly stops because he realizes the trail is too easy to follow.
Yes.
It's too quick to follow. And then Hayley feels something dropping on her shoulder. She looks over, it's blood. She looks up and then Roy drops out of the tree and his neck has been snapped. So he's actually not been taken to feed on, which is what's happened to Tommy and what's happened to Corey Monteith. Well, I don't think his character had a name.
No, going back to that, when we do find that Tommy is still alive and just hanging in a cavern. Wait, cavern? Yes, that's a word. For whatever, my brain was like cabin and cave combined.
Cavern's a real word.
Yeah, it's not like cabin's a real word, right?
Cavern's a real word.
There we go. It's fine.
Yeah, so I got a little too carried away talking about the potato. We do cut at some point to see that Tommy's still alive.
Yeah.
And that Corey gets eaten. And both Sam and Dean do say Wendigos keep their prey to feed on over time. And so that's why they think Tommy might be alive.
And hence why also when at the beginning of the episode, when they're doing the research, why it's not every year, it's every few years. It's there's significant gaps between
exactly
disappearances.
Exactly. So after Roy drops from the tree where he's stored,
held,
trapped, the Wendigo comes for them and they all run. They're running, and the Wendigo gets Dean and Hayley. And eventually Sam and Ben find where they were. They see the Molotov cocktail that Dean had made and dropped to the ground. And because he's got moxie, he's ready. He knows. Let's make a Molotov cocktail. Take this thing out. I know. But what they also notice is Sam's a smart. Not Sam. Sam's a smart cookie, but Dean's a smart cookie too.
Yeah. Breadcrumbs.
He's left breadcrumbs, but they're M&Ms. So they follow the trail of M&Ms and they follow it to an abandoned mine. So at the very start, it's always an abandoned mine. They go into the mine. They're looking for they're looking for Dean and they're looking for Hayley. They do find Dean and Hayley and they see that they're alive.
They found the lair.
They found the lair of the Wendigo.
All those skulls.
Yes, because they fell through the floor, and Ben sees the skulls and yells and gets up. But then they see Dean and Hayley, and they're both okay and they're alive. And then Hayley sees Tommy.
He's alive.
He is alive. At first, she doesn't realize it, and she's crying. And then he sort of goes, and she realizes he's alive, and she screams as well, which is, I think, a pretty realistic reaction if that happened.
There'll be a lot of screams.
Yeah, so Sam and Dean, we get to see kind of how well they work together because they're like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And they don't have a conversation about it, but Sam takes Tommy, Hayley and Ben and he's going to get them out of the mine and Dean's going to be the decoy. He's going to draw them off.
That tastes good.
So Dean runs off to be the decoy.
Yes.
He's found some flare guns in a pack.
Fire guns. Yeah, he refers to them as fire guns.
He calls them flare guns.
I swear it's fire guns.
No, it's flare. Do you want me to look up the transcript? Because I will.
Because I swear it says fire guns.
Please hold.
I swear he says fire guns.
Just so you guys know, the Supernatural Wiki, my heroes, they have transcripts for every single episode.
Wait, the entire episode?
Every single episode.
What?
So I'm going to look this up because it's absolutely flare guns.
I swear he says fire guns.
Oh my God. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm doing this one-handed.
I will also get out my Stan. Don't forget, I am watching this on Stan, so there could be two versions.
One which says fire guns and one that says flare guns.
Yes.
No.
Yes. I swear he says fire guns. I'm gonna.
These are they don't have two versions of the same episode.
I'm just gonna check. You check your resource. You check your source point. Oh my God. I'm checking my source point.
Firstly, Dean doesn't say anything at all. Sam goes, flare guns, those will work. Dean laughs and twirls the guns.
I swear he said fire guns.
Why would he?
Fuck.
So it was flare guns. I'm going to have to cut that down massively for it to be any kind of logical
but also,
segue.
I understand how guns work. No, I don't.
Flare guns.
Flare guns. I mean, same, right?
No.
Same.
So flare guns are used, you shoot them up in the air and they produce a flare. So if you're in danger, say if you're hiking in the forest, people can see and then they can come to your approximate location.
Versus the thing I thought it was like, a gun to start a fire. I'm actually not joking. Just for people, oh my God, you snorted. Just for people out there, I legit, because I don't understand guns at all. Meghann is dying. It's okay.
You keep going.
I legit thought there was a gun that was out there that shot fire to start like a bonfire or a campsite fire. And my thoughts were also, my fire gun thought also was sort of full circle moment confirmed when we get to it shortly, when people encounter the monster, because it doesn't go off like a flare, it goes off like a fire gun. It goes off like a fire gun, Meghann.
A flare in close proximity to people, like if you got shot with a flare gun,
it would probably kill you, right?
It would kill you because it is essentially like a tiny firework.
Ooh. Oh.
So I'm not...
You're not...
Anyway,
people
Sam and Dean split up.
Yep.
Sam is going to get them out of the mine. Dean is acting as decoy. He's running away. They've got flare guns, not fire guns, to take them out because, as we discussed, the Wendigo is killed by fire. Now, the Wendigo, for whatever reason, still chases after Sam and Haley and Ben and Tommy. Sam makes a heroic choice. He is going to try and save them and shield them, and he's telling them to run. That doesn't quite work, and then they're all standing there huddled. Sam's in front, ready to go down fighting.
Also, going back to the whole last week episode of how tall Sam is.
How tall Sam is.
Like, he is covering them.
How tall Jared Padalecki is.
Yeah, he is covering them. Like, with limbs. Like, he is like... arm on the left, arm on the right, basically touching the rock in this corner, right?
But Dean comes up behind and using the flare gun.
So not the fire gun?
Not the fire gun.
Dang.
He takes out the Wendigo and burns it up. And this is where the CGI is truly terrible.
Boy. Sketchy.
It's so bad. It's so 2005. They clearly went with the whole kind of Jaws vibe earlier on where they didn't show it very much because it wasn't going to look very good. But I will say that they're sort of physical attributes of the Wendigo are pretty accurate.
Oh, okay.
So,
like the clawing hands?
Yeah, so the descriptions can vary somewhat. Common to all these cultures is the view that the Wendigo is a malevolent, cannibalistic supernatural being, 15 feet tall, with stretched skin over the bones, eyes glow like an owl, razor sharp claws. What lips it had were tattered and rotting with matted hair and often antlers. Which weren't obviously in the version in the show,
saw,
but yeah. So they didn't get it wrong.
If we saw the antlers, I'm not too sure if they would go straight to camp. Like, that would be 100% full throttle to the camp. So, like,
oh yeah, particularly in 2005, if you saw a nightmare creature but it had antlers, campy AF. Like, they made a good choice at least in that respect. So they are back at the Rangers. Rangers Station?
I think they're called stations.
Rangers Station.
Feel free to let us know.
Yeah, American people, tell us any facts about your country.
Just give us facts. We are Australian.
We're Australian. We know a decent amount about America, but we're always going to have confused gaps.
Oh, look, you'll probably sit there and shake your head and going, these girls know nothing. Correct. We're Australian. We know how to judge the sea, and we know how to judge the sky. In a sense of, like, we're not going to go stand out in the middle of these, like, in Australia.
Australians, we're famous for knowing how to judge the sea and the sky. That's what we're known for. We are just natural creatures out here judging the sea and the sky.
Everything tries to kill us.
That's true.
That's what I mean. Like, you know what kills us in the sky? The sun. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to go stand out in the middle of the day.
Yep.
Slip, slop, sat, no hat, no play.
Mm-hmm.
No fun today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, like,
okay,
we know how to judge the sky, which is the sun where it lives, and also the sea, where everything tries to bite you.
Yeah, where everything tries to kill you.
Yeah,
but we don't know whether it's called a ranger station.
No.
So that's where we fall down.
Yeah, look,
Sam and the potato are lying to the cops or the sheriff.
Unclear. About the big grizzly.
And Haley says thank you. She says, I don't know how to thank you. And Dean Dean has an idea. He has a very specific idea about how she could thank him. This is full fuckboy Dean mode.
It is full.
She's like, must you cheapen the moment? And he's getting his moxie on because he's like, yes, I must cheapen the moment. And that was kind of endearing. Look, I'm a Dean apologist, so
you really are, and I'm not.
And we finish with Sam saying he's going to drive, and I think that's sort of indication that he knows. He understands now that they can save people, hunt things, family business, and also hunt for Jessica's killer. So he can do both. And so he
had a full circle moment.
Yeah, and he drives off. So thank you so much for listening to this episode.
Guys.
If you like our show, tell a friend that you like it.
Tell a colleague.
Tell a colleague. Tell
them about fire guns.
Don't tell them about fire guns
do.
because they won't understand, but tell them to subscribe to our show on whatever your favorite podcast platform is. You can find all of the places that you can find us at wewilltalkaboutit.com/listen. Follow us on Instagram. We Will Talk About It Pod. We share updates of the episodes. We share behind the scenes. We share funny quotes from the episodes. So please go and give us some love. But in the meantime,
stay safe and don't go camping at Blackwater Ridge.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.